All right, hi everybody. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop for October 29th, 2016. Today my guests are, of course, James, represented by Emperor Palpatine, and Joe, once again joining us. We've got a great docket today. We, of course, are going to be talking briefly about the new keywords in the Magic Commander 2016. There are only a few new ones there. Then we're going to move into discussing the... Oh, there goes the frame rates already. But we're going to move into discussing the Ranger, the one that Wizards put out with their Unearthed Arcana, comparing it to the Ranger that was in the Player's Handbook for Dungeons & Dragons. I do want to then hit on a little bit of information about discussing Starfinder, the new spacefaring set that Paizo has been putting out for Pathfinder. Okay.
What the heck is that?
I don't know. But then we'll move into talking about novels and role-playing games. Like Pathfinder has novels, Dungeons & Dragons has novels, Magic the Gathering has novels. We'll talk about those a little bit. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Betrayal at House on the Hill, the new expansion. That's... Widow's Walk. I do want to talk about that a little bit. Wow. And then we will move into, of course, our favorite segments after that, talking a little bit about our old characters and games, with stories from the table, and moving into gaming sage advice. So let's start with, of course, talking about the magic keywords. I know, James, you're not going to be very interested in this one, but Joe, I think we can discuss it. There are really only two new keywords in this one, which I want to go over a little bit, so let's dive into those. Partner and Undaunted. Well, of course, they brought back basic land cycling, but they've had that before.
Yeah, and they have changelings again.
Yeah, but the partner. So that I think is a very interesting one to begin with, because it's you can have two creatures as commanders. Granted, I don't play a lot of Commander anyway. I have Commander decks, but I just don't get to play.
Yeah, same here. It's interesting that you'll be able to have more than one, which is nice because most Commander decks come with a couple commanders, so it's nice to be able to use both in the same game.
Yeah. Especially if they're like, you have these two, you can use them as partnered together. And then I guess it gives it more options for which one you're going to bring out when you're bringing the commanders.
Right. Undaunted is definitely interesting for multiplayer facets.
Oh, God, yeah. That's definitely true. That for each opponent, something costs one less. I mean, normally... For a second, you think, why didn't they just print it as one cheaper? But it's a lot easier language than saying, for each opponent beyond the first.
Right.
So I think that's a very interesting way that if you're playing a very large game, you can play a very cheap spell. Especially because the example one was Destroy All Creatures, the Sublime Exhalation.
Yeah, I'm seeing that one. Yeah, that's definitely nice because it's originally 7, and depending on how many opponents you have.
Yeah, if you're playing a 5-player game, it's going to cost you 4 less, and therefore it will be 3. Not bad for destroying all the creatures. And I do like getting back to the partner a little bit, that it's talking about how the task for your commanders applies each one individually. So that was an interesting kind of little thing about it, that...
right, because then they have to choose which, if they're going to attack a commander, and then which one.
And then, of course, if the commander goes back to your command zone and you get that task to replay it, it only applies to the one that dies, not the one, if you only played the one, you can play the other one just as cheap floor. So, yeah, I think they're both very interesting takes on things, and definitely Commander is expanding itself a little bit, but it's also seemingly opening itself up a little better to multiplayer with Undaunted, because I think that's the better, what it is better for playing it seems like to me.
Yeah, I'd actually be interested to see a game like that with Undaunted with, oh God, I can't think of the terminology now. We have the king.
Oh, Emperor?
Emperor, thank you.
An Emperor Commander game. I don't think I've ever tried playing that, but then again, don't play a lot of Commander. Have the decks, don't play it very often. So that would be very interesting to try out.
Or even just the Undaunted cards in a Emperor game.
Well, that's true, because that's a big multiplayer type game. But that you almost, because those are like more... the Emperor rules I don't think have been refined in like a lot of years. It's more of a classic setup in playing Magic. So I don't know how they want to do it with the current sets of stuff.
True.
And of course, because it's now 4 Commander decks, basic land cycling's back, because it's 4 colors, they're like, yeah, we'll make it easy for you to get some basic lands. You really need them!
Hey, lands are always important.
That's true. That's very true. But see, we just wanted to discuss this a little bit and talk about it. There wasn't anything major, especially since James is here and he's not a big fan of Magic. But why don't we move on from here, because that was an interesting little snippet of talking about that. Let's talk about the revised Ranger, because this is an interesting one. So James, what is your take on the revised Ranger?
When 5th edition originally came out, in Pathfinder, my favorite class is usually the Ranger or the Rogue, and so I tried to play the Ranger once, and it was depressingly weak in my view. And this new Ranger, it seems more powerful, so it seems like something I'd be willing to try again and see if it was better.
See, that's what I've heard, that the original Ranger was kind of weak. And the thing is, since I hadn't ever tried one, that's one of the 5th edition... Well, I haven't tried a lot of 5th edition classes. Only a few of them, and have experience with some of my players with them. So it's sort of like, my knowledge of a lot of the classes doesn't exist for some of them. I have to experience more of them. The Ranger, not at all. So, like, when I look at it and compare it, I can definitely see that they did increase the abilities and powers of it. Like, now, of course, the favorite enemy, it does damage. It didn't before. I mean, that's a big step. It seems like, yeah, you're only gaining, like, 2 favorite enemies instead of the numbers that you used to get. But you eventually evolved having 4 damage? I mean, against 2 types of creatures? That's pretty good.
Yeah, the favorite enemy, there's only one less favorite enemy that you get to choose. They did stack it so that instead of having the full list at first level, they split it into favorite enemy and greater favorite enemy, which I think was a nice touch, because you're not going to be fighting a lot of dragons at 2nd level, so they waited until like 6th level to implement that.
Very true. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, some of the other little changes seem interesting too. Definitely the favorite enemy, I think, is the biggest one. But like, where they have fleet of foot now, that they give them a dash bonus action. I mean, from what my experience with rogues, that dash is actually really helpful. I mean, it's not the disengage. I think when you get to the rogue, is their bonus action. So they can dash, disengage. I cannot remember the third one. I have a book here because I was comparing the 2 classes. What was it? The cunning action. Oh, dash, disengage, or hide. Sorry. But no. But the hide, I haven't seen it used a lot. But the dash and disengage, I mean, that's an extra 30 feet of movement. You can be 90 in a turn with the Ranger. That's pretty significant change. And the ability they supposedly replaced, I mean, they threw it into the Natural Explorer, the ignoring difficult terrain. So you didn't really lose anything, you just gained something.
Right.
And then they, with the Vanish at 14th level, I believe it is, that gives you hide as a bonus action. So it's definitely not as good as the Rogue, because they get those at 2nd level instead of 14th, but they still have a lot more versatility than they did with the original one.
Yeah, I would definitely think that this is an interesting one to try out, but I've heard from discussions, it seems like, as much as the Ranger was sort of weak originally, it seems like people are torn between thinking if this one is too much. That's a good question about it, because this is like, it's Wizards putting this out, but they aren't like, they're like, this is something you guys can use, but we're not technically officially publishing it. It's their Unearthed Arcana, where they give alternate rules that they are developing that we're allowed to use, that are perfectly legal because it's them, but they're not published material. So they're like, do it if you want to. So I find it interesting that that's a good question then. Is this too much then? How would that compare? Because you've effectively really increased one of their abilities and given them another thing with the their ability to fleet of foot. Is that too much?
I see what you're saying, but there's a magic item in the game that gives you +2 to attack and damage with bows, and so that's kind of how I judge Favorite Enemy. Favorite Enemy gives you a +2 bonus to damage, but not to attack, and so I feel like the magic item is still more powerful, as it should be. A magic item should not be able to give you a class feature, and as far as fleet of foot, yes, it's powerful. 90 feet of movement is pretty good, but that starts at 8th level, and so it's not going to come into effect much until you hit a landmark when other people are getting cooler features.
That's true. That's definitely very true. And when we talk about, powerful, when we're talking about something like the uncanny dodge of the road, which we were talking about the other week, just between us a little bit. Because that's you can spend a reaction to half damage from an attack, and that's pretty good. So I can see definitely that by the time you're getting that, everybody else is getting things that are seemingly equivalent.
Yeah, I don't think it's overpowered at all. I think it gives some more versatility to it.
I would like to probably some point one of us have it tested out. Maybe we can see how it actually functions in one of these games. That'd be pretty good. We'll have to see if we get a chance to. Maybe when I'm done Curse of Strahd, if I lose something like Storm King's Thunder or another one of the adventures, someone could be Ranger.
Definitely.
I would also like to point out that they added a third Ranger archetype, and they also started calling the archetypes conclaves, which is nice.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that they're like, no longer is it just like, well, you have an archetype. Now you have a conclave, a group of Rangers getting together that, sort of have ideas similarly to each other and function that way. That does seem very interesting.
Right, because I'm just flipping through the book right now, and it's almost like they didn't spend a lot of time with the Ranger, because for the Paladins, there's the O's, for the Bards, there's the colleges.
Yeah.
And so when they got to the Ranger, it's just like, oh, let's just call it an archetype. Now they've put some thought into it and called it a conclave. It's a name change, but it still reflects more of a investment in the Ranger.
Yeah, there's certain classes, I think the fighter is just like an archetype. But the thing is, with the fighter, you don't think of them as a group organizing. You think of them organizing with other groups. Fighters end up in militaries and stuff. While Rangers are usually more individualistic, but you can see them working together in a conclave to protect this massive forest. We have a couple of Rangers working together to protect it. That makes sense. It's like the points where they should have sort of been these things are more loosely organized and these things are more heavily organized. They dropped the ball when it came to Ranger a little bit.
Yeah. But that always seems to happen with role-playing games, that you have you always seem to have a class that's a little underpowered compared to some.
True. You always get one that just doesn't quite fit in the grouping of them.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but it happens. It does look like they did expand their their beast conclave, their beast animal companion rules, which was nice. I mean, I never thought about using them personally, because I was always a fan of the hunter, and that looks pretty much the same. But it's interesting that they made it more appealing to have an animal companion for one thing. And that's not even talking about the new one, the Deep Stalker.
Right.
Which is what, like a cave version of what it really looks like, with going underground and facing things like Drow and Mind Flayers and the Underdark.
Yeah, definitely seems to be more towards that. And it has some interesting abilities. One of the nice things is you actually get an extra attack with the ranger at 5th level.
Yeah. So you technically would get 3 attacks. That's actually really good, because that's 5th level you get. Because normally next attack, you get an extra 1 attack now. You can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action. Well, no, that's the same as all of them. The extra attack.
Is it?
Let me check.
Like the fighters get an extra attack at 5th level, but a lot of the other classes don't.
Yeah, that's normally more towards the fighters. That because you're thinking more like 3.5 and such.
Well, no. The thing is, I just noticed it now. The ranger used to get extra attack at 5th level.
Okay, now it's only for the.
Let me check if it's
Stalker, I think.
The Hunter's Conclave gets it too. I see. They changed it because they gave the Beast Conclave something different at 5th level. It's that you get extra attacks with your animal. It looks like. When you take the action on your turn, if your companion can see you, it can use its reaction to make a melee attack.
And the other thing with the Deep Stalker at 11th level, you get a special ability. If you miss with an attack, you can make another attack.
So I see why they moved extra attack into the conclave, because they have it that rather than you getting an extra attack, your animal gets a bonus reaction extra attack as that. That's actually kind of interesting that they did it that way. Because yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're talking about the fighter gets a bajillion extra attacks. Because that was always one of the things I thought about would be a good thing to take for a multi-class fighter. Because at 11th level and 20th level, they increase their number of attacks with their extra attack. And the multi-class rule says whichever one you get, you have those. It's not like that ability levels up with you. So if you're a 5th level fighter and I don't know, 15th level wizard, you would have 4 attacks because you need those.
Right.
And the thing is, though, I would love to try the multi-class in 5th edition, which I haven't thought about, because they actually function really well together. It's a very interesting take on it. That's an entirely another story I would talk about. We're kind of going off on a tangent here a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting back to the conclaves, though, and the different ones. Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems interesting that they've expanded the Beast and added a new one. Definitely, they definitely put some more thought into it. I agree with you, James, that it seems like they had less thought into this originally, and now they have more. So it's definitely an advancement, and I guess we'll have to test it out some more and see how everything works. I think that's the best way of saying it. That it's going to require some actual play testing. Because, I mean, you can read through it all you want, but it doesn't give you everything just to sort of read through it. But let's move on. Now that we've talked about that, let's talk a little bit about Starfinder. Because we do have some information that's been provided about Starfinder. We know a little bit about the basic settings. We know about what kind of products are coming out, some of the gameplay. They've been teasing some other things in gameplay. So, if anybody's not aware of it, Pathfinder's coming out with a space-based version of their system, effectively. Well, yes and no. They're coming up with their own space-based rules system set in their universe. So it is compatible with Pathfinder, conceptually, is what they're saying. that monsters in Starfinder, there's like a conversion table between everything that you can move it back and forth very easily, according to them. The rulebook's not going to be out until August of next year, so it is quite a while before they're going to actually release it, and they've been giving some information on it. They will have bestiaries, adventure paths, things like that they will start putting out. Excuse me. Now, we know it's set in Galerion's solar system, where the actual planet of Galerion has disappeared and no one knows why. That's like the basic things of it. And they have faster-than-light travel. That they were talking about using a hex system for battles in space. That's an entirely other thing, but I like that part. That, like, the history of why Galerion disappeared is missing and no one knows why. Like, the information is gone. They have, like, of course, future technology, alien races, other races. They've announced 7 classes. They've talked about a few of the races that they're going to have. You know, humans, some rat folks, androids, a couple others that I don't. They know the names of them, and they might be in the normal Pathfinder, but I don't have them right off the top of my head to let you know what they are. But like the rat folk and the androids are ones that are easy to talk about. It's like there's still magic, but technology's dominant. So I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting take on things, and you know, with starship battles and fights among people, and this mixture of science and magic. I like the idea of it, but it's going to be hard to say where it actually goes to, because I mean, they've been giving us little bits of information, but I don't know if this is enough for us to really say, like, this is going to be great yet. I really want another Spelljammer from Dungeons & Dragons. I would love that, but they haven't done anything since AD&D. And this is almost like Paizo kind of giving the middle finger to them, like, hey, we'll put something out instead.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go with it. It's always kind of fun to cross, genres with fantasy and technology.
Well, yeah. They're saying like they're trying for like a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of Firefly, a little bit of Shadowrun in there, some space opera, maybe a little bit of cyberpunk, kind of. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, you know me, I always have some heart for cyberpunk. It was the first role-playing game I was ever exposed to.
That's true. I mean, and the class list looks interesting. The Technomancer, which is using magic and technology together. A Mechanic, which is effectively a summoner with a robot. I mean, that's the best way of saying it. The Solarion, which they call it a mystical melee combatant, harnesses the cycles of the stars. Is that like Space Monk? I'm gonna go for Space Monk.
Space Monk.
A soldier. They're of course like heavy weapon dudes. They're kind of fighter. Envoy, which I kind of feel like is their bard. The Mystic, which sounds like a less directly divine inspired, divine spellcaster or something,
Right. You guys watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? It seems like it's gonna be the Bloodbenders from them.
That's actually an interesting comparison. Yeah, okay. I can see that there. That's actually a really cool comparison. And then, of course, we have Operative, which is the stealthy skill specialist. The rogue. So they have, like, hit all the key notes, I think, with a lot of what we want. Because I don't think you'll have any direct wizards, so I kind of feel like that Technomancer is filling our, knowledge-based spellcaster kind of person, because he's also combining with technology.
Right.
But I guess the engineering, maybe it's like somewhere between a summoner and a ranger? I don't know, because you're the mechanic, I'm sorry. It's interesting, but... And like some of the races, I'm like, well, they haven't announced some of them, and like, what about all the other ones they have? What about the traditional ones? We got humans. Where's our elves and dwarves in space?
Dwarves in space.
According to Spelljammer, they make giant mountains that fly around.
That's weird.
It's better than gnomes, which cobble together pieces of junk into like a functioning spaceship.
Hey, don't make fun of gnomes.
I will make fun of gnomes all I want to.
Gnomes are cool.
Gnomes are gnomes.
Especially when they're on the range.
That's true. So any thoughts about this?
I'd definitely like to try to see where it's going. I mean, they've dabbled a little bit before in with technology. You know, I've been looking at, like we just discussed last week, about, you know, trying to run a game with technology in it.
Yeah.
And it looks like, you know, they're focusing a little bit more on that. So that should be interesting to really experience. I like that aspect of, you know, like I said, combining genres with it. So I'd definitely be willing to give it a try and see where see where it actually goes.
Well, I think.
Sorry, I'm definitely interested in the big space vehicle battles that they say they're gonna have. Just because I've always been intrigued by the fact that it's really hard to get one of those like large scale battles going in Pathfinder 5th edition, and so this will make it definitely easier.
In Pathfinder, when we're playing the Skulls and Shackles Adventure Path, it's annoying as all heck to do those ship battles. I mean, it really kind of is. And those are just ocean-based ships. I mean, they gotta come up with something great for the spaceship. And I mean, I'm feeling good with the hex system because I remember much of the hex system from, as I said, Spelljammer. That's the comparison. As soon as they said that, it harkened back to that really directly.
Yeah, I like I said before, I'd like to really see where they go with everything and give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we'll see more to come because they really just began the announcements at Gen Con, and they've been working on it. And it is August of next year when they're planning to release the core book on it. So we do have quite a ways away before we're actually going to see anything on it.
Right.
Are you guys going to Gen Con?
I have no idea what my convention schedule is. I have two on the schedule, and I think I should be able to make it to those two. After that, I have no idea. I got, of course, PAX South, which I think I will be able to go to, even if none of you guys are managing to go with me. Poke, James, poke. And then I do have a hotel reserved for the new Otakon, which I would love to go to in the new location. But I gotta see if I can poke any of our other friends to go with me to that one. But that's a ways away, and I was glad to get a decent priced hotel, and so that's good enough for me right now.
Unfortunately, I have no cash to do such things at the moment. So
I know, yes.
Cons are my least worry at the moment.
Yes, definitely. So no, yeah, I would love to go to Gen Con. That's definitely one on the list of ones I would love to check out and go to. I'm sure. Because what time of the year is normally that? That's like late summer, isn't it?
It's usually like beginning of August.
Okay. So they might be. Okay, so they're actually planning on releasing the first products at Gen Con. So we're going to see that core rule book and the first Adventure Path volume at Gen Con next year, they're saying. So that will be something that would be very exciting to go to.
Yeah, that definitely would be interesting. You know, if I can scrounge things around by then, I'd love to go.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something that's like definitely something that it would be awesome to check out. I mean, they seem to be like. The thing is, Paizo's always seem to love the work it does. So I mean, as much as they can come up with some crazy stuff, I do love their adventure paths, and they put out some pretty decent adventures even for the single one. So I mean, they do some good work, and I think that's one of the reasons that, as much as 5th edition has been interesting to dive into, we haven't said goodbye to Pathfinder, because it's managed to hold itself up. So Paizo did a decent job at coming up with something that could compete even with like how new 5th edition is.
Yeah, definitely.
So I do want to move on from there, though. Why don't we start talking about novels and role-playing games, or collectible card games? Because if you've seen any books, similar to like how Star Trek and Star Wars does books, Dungeons & Dragons does books, Pathfinder does books, Shadowrun does books, Magic the Gathering does books. Many of them do. I don't know if like I think World of Darkness does stories. I don't know if they've done books. I know that in one of my latest episodes I talked about them putting out an anthology of their stories, but I don't know if that's they probably do novels. I haven't seen any. And I don't know about Earth Dawn or Bessa. Bessa is too open-ended and doesn't have its own world, so I doubt that would do its own. But I could see Earth Dawn, but I've never seen one. I could probably like check that out now. But speaking about them, I wanted to talk about the fact that there does seem to be a large insurgence or a continued surgence of this activity. I mean, like I read a few old Spelljammer novels back in the days of AD&D, and then I read some of the early Magic novels. But like I never got into the Legend of Drizzt series, which if you're talking about role-playing novels, that is the big one that you have to really talk about. James, I know you read the Legend of Drizzt.
Well, I've read a lot of the books. I have yet to reach the end, but yeah. There's a lot of books out there relating to Drizzt and his adventures.
Yeah, so that's okay, a lot of them. Well, he keeps making them, doesn't he? What is it? Salvador?
Yeah, R.A. Salvador.
R.A. Salvador, yeah. I had to remember his name there for a second. So, I mean, I see them as definitely very interesting bits that you can use to learn about one of these worlds that you wanted to. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're fantastic for that. The issue with a lot of them that I've heard about or I've experienced by trying to read them is that some of the authors that try and do that type of thing, like expanding on a role-playing world, they're not the best writers. So while the story's good and like the plotline is there, some of the writing could be off, or some of the character development could be off. Just it's usually never a complete package. Whenever I read some of those books, but some of them do succeed in being like a all together package, and that's why I've enjoyed the Drizzt books. And one of my close friends has recommended to me the first Pathfinder book, because again that ties together all the concepts.
Yeah, Pathfinder has such a variety of places and worlds they go to that like the amount of books they have is just so staggering sometimes. That's why I feel like something like this helps you solidify information about it, because it's like, well, I can look up the city, but what's in there beyond what's published sometimes? You know, maybe I can make up a lot of stuff on my own. And yeah, there might be a book that talks more about City A that's very important, but there might not be. I think the only thing I have to say really about like the Magic novels, when I was reading those, is I like the early ones better than they started doing, because they first started out with a series of novels which were more open-ended storylines. And then they moved into talking about a couple of... And there were some very interesting ones I read. I can't remember their titles because it's been over a decade since I read it. But then they kind of moved into most of the ones I saw tended to be ones based around the current storyline. Which, they're not bad, but it's sort of like how Magic has been doing it, where they release like story articles in like parts. I've enjoyed that for getting the storyline of the sets. It almost felt like there was too much sometimes in the novel one, because I read the novel version of Prophecy set. And there was a lot going in on Prophecy, so I could see like a lot of weeks of novelization being put out online, but I don't know if it was necessary novel territory.
Right.
So that's a thought pattern for that one. But that's a card game. I mean, I haven't read any Shadowrun novels, and there seems to be a good amount of those. I did look it up, and there are Earthdawn novels, so that's an interesting take. Do you think they would be really a useful tool to us? Either as players or game masters, or is it more for enjoyment of the story and maybe getting a little bit of information about the world, a little familiarization?
For me, when I read them, it was about the enjoyment of the story and getting a little bit more information about the world of whichever book I was reading. Because at the time, my DMs, or when I was DMing, I didn't go a lot into the setting so much as I just kind of made a world just like a town, and I didn't really expand upon that world. I didn't give it full depth of character. I just had it be a town. And so but it's definitely an option. If you read the books, you can use that to create your own setting. Or another setting.
I haven't, really read any, so I can't get into it too much, but I can definitely see it being used as a tool to try to, help expand your world.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I can see that, like, if it's talking about something in the book that you're like, oh, that's interesting, I wanted to learn about that. But I almost see, like, they want to tell more stories from their world other than just what they put out, and that's probably the best way of doing it. So I mean, yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting take on things, and it adds more mythology. But I guess I definitely agree. It's probably not something you would need to be for role playing. Not at all.
Yeah, not necessary, but it can be able to spark some more ideas for you.
Yeah. Which is not always a bad thing to spark ideas. All right, well, that's it for that. Let's move on to the next topic. I wanted to talk a little bit about a board game, one of my favorites. They come out with an expansion to Betrayal, House on the Hill, The Widow's Walk. Now, for this one, they have come out with some more things. They came out with 20 new room tiles. Well, let's talk about what Betrayal, House on the Hill is first. Betrayal, House on the Hill is a cooperative board game which you are tile-based and card-based. You start at the front of a mansion, and you draw rooms from a tile deck and build the mansion as you explore. So each time you explore the mansion, it's new, different format, different locations. You never know what room you're going to encounter. There are certain rooms that appear on certain floors, either upper or lower or basement. Some rooms can appear on any floor. Others just appear on one type of floor. And you face haunted or supernatural elements as you get into these different rooms. You eventually start encountering things called haunts. After a certain number of haunts, based upon a little bit of luck because there's die rolls, wherever you found that haunt and what haunt it was determines who the betrayer is and who's trying to murder everyone else. Now, sometimes no one's the betrayer, it's just the house trying to kill you. Other times, one of your friends is going to turn against you and try to murder you. More often than not, it's the latter. So that's where the interesting dynamics of the game is then. You have one betrayer trying to murder everyone else. And so, well, they're omens, isn't it? It's omens that release the haunt. And so that gives the second half of the game where the players are trying to defeat the haunt and save their lives, while the betrayer is trying to murder everyone else. So the expansion has anything else you guys want to add to describing the game there?
No, I think you hit all the major points of it.
Okay. So in the expansion, they have 20 new room tiles, so that's, good. And a new floor called the roof, apparently. So you can go explore the roof. Woo!
Hopefully it's not on fire.
I know. Probably is in one of the haunts. I'm going to assume one of the haunts will have the roof on fire. There's 30 new cards, 11 items, 11 events, and 8 new omens. So I'm interested how that will work with how it was 13 omens before, if you're only going to use 13 at a time, or if you're going to have to use all of them. I'm interested in that, and a whole bunch of new tokens. Now, I've heard from some of the new tokens, of course, they have Explorer tokens, which you can use to mark any kind of room that you've visited that might get you a bonus when you first enter it, or any kind of thing that you want to mark that you've done something. And some of the new tiles are like a dumbwaiter, which you can use to move between different floors, and a spiral staircase, which is another way of connecting floors of the house. It's like a smaller staircase. And they I think they have a bathroom because people have joked that the house didn't have one.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. So.
Just like in Star Trek.
Well, if you look at any kind of books released that they give,
they still don't show toilets.
Well, they show that they have bathroom areas in the schematics.
Yeah, they never show a toilet.
That's true. So they're like, there's a bathroom here. What the bathroom is, you don't know.
I want to see a futuristic toilet still.
Doesn't everybody? I've actually had the opportunity to play with the expansion.
Oh, cool.
And, the roof definitely adds a cool new element. What I found interesting is that some of the cards we pulled over related to the dumbwaiters, in that usually when you use a dumbwaiter, you can move to the main piece of the the second story or the basement or the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them connected dumbwaiter to dumbwaiter, which is a really efficient way of moving around. And as the trader, as I turned out to be, I couldn't use those, and so it was really hard for me to escape from getting just ganged up on, because a lot of our team could use those dumbwaiters at will, and so it seemed like a cool idea.
That's one of those only things about Betrayal sometimes. Is you sometimes become the traitor, and you're you're the person that doesn't have anything, and the guy next to you has armor and weapons and awesome stuff covering their body while exploring the man, and you're like, how am I dealing with that guy? That's definitely sounds like it's cool then. It sounds like it's enjoyable to try it out. I'm going to have to try to pick that up for my copy of the game then, because as I said, it's one of my favorite games that I don't get a lot of chances to play, and if it's improved on the game, then I'm happy. How did the new omens work?
I don't know enough about the game to recognize when the new omen was pulled.
Okay.
But some of them that directly related to the new parts of the game, they seem to mesh really well, and there was a new chart because the new omens have to be
have their own things.
Yeah. So I think the one that we did, I turned into an owl.
Okay.
I needed everybody else to turn into an owl, because wouldn't that be freaking awesome?
Okay. That's interesting.
So,
that sounds interesting. It's a little weird. I'm an owl now. Everybody else should be an owl now.
And they actually used the Explorer tokens to mark when they turned into an owl, and if they could turn back, they could take one of their markers back. Mm-hmm. But there was limited supply, so it's kind of like marking down the number of times you could do it.
Okay. Cool. So I definitely would like to try that out at some point in time. I think it sounds well. This is a great time for board games anyway. It's been. We've had a lot of great ones coming out, and we should probably talk about a little bit more about board games occasionally anyway. Hey, we're discussing tabletop. So let's Joe, do you have anything about it you want to say?
I haven't really gotten to look at it at all, so unfortunately, I don't think I can add much.
That sounds fine. Okay. So I wanted to move on from our discussion questions for this week to stories from the tabletop. Because that's what we like to talk about, some of our war stories and stuff. So I was thinking about what we want to talk about this week. And I think what we should do this week is introduce our favorite characters that we've played. What a character you think, well, one of your favorite characters. A character you really like, give a little bit of information about them, maybe not go into depth about the story, but maybe like one or two things that you did with that character in the story. I mean, we did talk a little bit about, I think, a character that's one of Joe's favorites and a character that's one of my favorites last week. But we don't we can always add more to those people because we only talked about certain things. There's a crap ton we could have talked about those characters.
Oh yeah.
So why don't we start with you though, James? Because you are our extra guest this week.
Sweet. Do you guys mind which system we talk about? Or?
Not at all. It's any role-playing game.
Alright, so one of my favorite characters, his name was Jarl something or other. He was a half-dragon fighter in the 3.5 system, and it helped because my DM didn't really know what a half-dragon could do. He was confused about basically everything relating to character creation, so pretty sure I got the best stats imaginable. It was also cool because a lot of the adventure took place with a lot of traps, and like one of the things I could do was blow a cone of cold, so me and the paladin were trapped in a room and it was rapidly filling with water through some holes in the wall, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to freeze the holes leading into the room. And it worked for a while until the river pressure built up so much that it exploded the walls. And then I resorted to making floating icebergs that I could climb up and hop to the next and hop to the next. And so that trap did not work out well.
Oh, that's wonderful, though. And I feel solidarity for your Dungeon Master because I did that with our friend Mike the first time I played with him. I had no idea how half-dragons worked in 3rd edition when we started, and he's like, I want to be a half-dragon! Sure! Well, wow, the floating iceberg. That's actually a wonderful use of a code of cold. I had not thought of that one.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun.
Joe, who do you want to talk about this week?
Well, I could keep going on about the one we talked about last week, but actually that story made me think of another character I had. It was a gnome sorcerer named Ruthie T. Williger. Also a first-time GM that I was working with. So we did a weird amalgamation of AD&D and 3.5. And he definitely was more not a rules person, more of a overall storytelling. And we got away with a lot of weird and random fun stuff. Like I remember it was a plains hopping game. We were in what's the city from?
Sigil.
Sigil, thank you. We were at Sigil. We were underneath in the catacombs, and I forget exactly what we were being chased by. We were being chased by some big evil, and me and another character trying to run away. She's on a tensor's floating disc, and I transmuted rock to mud. And we surfed a giant mudslide on Tensor's floating disc to get away. Definitely one of the interesting things, but not the weirdest thing that happened in that game.
Yeah, I remember your stories for that one. There are definitely some really weird things that happened in that game.
Oh, like one other quick one. We were fighting a clay giant again in Sigil,
Wasn't it a golem?
Oh, clay golem.
Yes.
Sorry. Misspoke.
Yeah, it's fine. It happens.
Yeah, we were fighting the clay golem, and I had a cloak of useful items, which he would allow me to actually re-sew patches onto. So I'd be able to buy like separate patches so I can store it up the way I want it to.
That's an interesting idea for it. I like that idea for a cloak of useful items. Because otherwise it's like, I used up my door. What do I do now?
Exactly. So I created a pit under the golem. My companion cast fireball, or no, flaming. It might have been flaming sphere. Something. It was a fire spell, and the GM basically goes, "Okay, you bake it, and its head pops off." And at that point, the city guard was coming. We wanted to get away from them. So my companion casts Mage Hand and uses the head of the golem as a giant bowling ball.
Your game was ridiculous. I do have to say, your GM let you guys get away with... Okay, I like you letting people get away with things, but there's like sometimes goes way too far.
Oh, I agree. We got away with some really big stuff that shouldn't have happened, but it did make the game interesting because there's like almost rules off. The story is what counts, so he just wanted to make an interesting story.
Well, that's not necessarily bad to get an interesting story. That's like an entirely different conversation. It's story versus substance. Which I guess people like to say story trumps all, but I like to say there's a good balance between the two. You can't have too much story means you won't have enough substance. And so
I completely agree. And there was times that it kind of got frustrating of like, that shouldn't work. Why are you allowing that to work?
Yeah. James, have you had anybody like that went way too far on the story side?
Yes, but this happened at Gen Con. I was playing Shadowrun, and one of my favorite characters in Shadowrun is Sniper Face. It was the first character I created. His name is Digits. So the thing is, in the Shadowrun game, there was an armored convoy of people coming, and we had just gotten done a big fight, so everybody was down on the ground dying, except for me, of course. So I took a pot shot at the wheel of the convoy, and the guy said, like, I hit the wheel, it exploded, and he's like, you know what? It started rolling. All the people on the outside are getting smushed, and then it lands on its side, so people are going to have a hard time getting out. And so, me, being the rational person that I am, said, I'm going to shoot the gas tank. And even though that doesn't really do anything, it did a lot of stuff. And so I killed, I think, 15 people that day. It was a good day.
It was a good day to murder 15 people. Well, they were probably going to get you, so it's okay. That's the rationalization of most still playing. They were going to get you, so it's okay. Yeah, so, I mean... Yeah... It's an interesting balance to try to... It's difficult to find that balance. So, but that's another thing to talk about, probably more on another day, is defining the balance between story and substance. Maybe we'll have that for a discussion question one of these weeks. I got a good discussion question for us to talk about this week. So, but let me talk about my character I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Brom Balrog. Southern gentleman and dwarven fighter with pistols.
Oh, Brom.
Oh, Brom. He was my... Okay. So we were playing a game in Faerun. It was the first game we had played in Faerun with our GM, or our DM chat. So I had a character in that game that lasted for most of the game, and the character died. And I didn't want the character to be resurrected because I had messed up the character completely with trying to compete with another player. I moved away from the direction I originally wanted the character. Not only that, the character had the most complicated, ridiculous backstory of like 5 pages that made no sense now that I look back on it. So, character went out the window, Brom Balrog shows up. So, Brom Balrog was a dwarf, but he was raised by the gnomes of Lantan. So the gnomes of Lantan are known in Faerun for having smoke powder and firearms. So I show up looking sort of like Yosemite Sam, talking like Foghorn Leghorn, 2 pistols in each hand. So I've got like the bad, like, I say, sir, you have insulted my honor. I challenge you to a duel. And apparently my character had been with an elf chick who got really, really drunk. So I had this daughter named Annabelle, who was a dwelf, who was like, it should not be. So the person with Annabelle was like horribly ugly and misformed. And I'm like, Annabelle, you are beautiful in your own right. Yes. So my character is like this ridiculous stereotype, but I'm like an awesome fighter who has 2 guns, that I'm 2-weapon fighting, and I actually do a really good job of like just killing things anyway. Because I have like ever-loading pistols they gave me. But I think the best story was, there were these like divine beings that everybody else had gone to, and I go to them, and I'm like, I would love for Annabelle to be as beautiful on the outside as she is on the inside. She has the confidence to win over the man she loves. Because at this point in time, she's also somehow gotten into a relationship with one of our other crewmates, Tobias Beecher, named after the character from Oz. Thanks, Colin. Thanks for that.
Yes.
Anyway, who was this like little elemental fish dude or something? He had like aquatic elemental powers or something. He was some weird race from 3rd edition, which I can't remember the call. They're like supposed to be descended from Methlings or something. Mephits. Are they like Methlings or something?
I can't remember. It's been so long, but I remember the character.
Yeah, he was a druid, war shaper, or something else. He had all the shape-changing powers. So his big shtick was shape-changing into other things. And he took all like the shape-changing prestige classes, so he could change into things other than just animals and elementals. So he's like, I could be a humanoid and a dragon and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so he sort of had been with her because I kind of had shotgunned wedding him a little bit into being in a relationship after he was really nice to her. So I go to these divine beings, I make my wish, she changes into a nymph. So now my daughter blinds people without being able to control it, because she was not born a nymph. She doesn't know how to control this. So, like, of course, Tobias Beecher's like, score! And I think people kept getting permanently blinded, but our cleric was able to be like, cure blindness, deafness.
Yeah.
So, Annabelle was then really beautiful, and so it was an interesting development for my character. And I think I was also highly superstitious with magic, so whenever our cleric, who was the would use like, because I think he had like a school of magic that gave him a domain that gave him some teleportation. So he teleported up and like, what sorcery is this? What dark magic is being used against me? I challenge you to a duel. Wielding my pistols, up in the air, ready to jump around.
Everything to a duel.
I really did. I really did. I was the most ridiculous stereotype you could ever believe in for when it came to bad Southern gentlemen.
Yes. But it was lovely.
Oh, it was fun to play. As much as I loved my original character, for as ridiculous as it was for actually having some character, it was fun to play something that was just like a character in and of itself. That was the thing. Is like it was a character, and it was fun to play it. It was fun to role play it, because I was able to come up with his entire way of thinking very easily because it was straightforward. There was nothing in the background. And he was not very much of a dwarf, though, because again, he was raised by gnomes. But I like how he showed up in a couple other games since then. That my second character in the Faerun was apparently raised by Brahm, because his parents like went off at adventures and they left him with Brahm, which is like, ugh.
He's not a good babysitter.
No, he's not a good role model. He's not a good role model at all. And didn't we have in our last favorite game that we were talking about? He was in your father's bar. He was in Fedora's father's bar, sitting there blind because he'd gone blind with old age, and really drunk, and still challenging things to duels, and still waving his guns around, like ready to fight anything. Oh, Brom, you were a wonderful character. I think he was in the third one, too. He briefly showed up when the dragons visited Lantan or something. I don't know.
Possibly. I vaguely remember.
I guess sometimes it's fun to play a semi-ridiculous character even when it's in a serious game, as long as you don't go too far. I think
we've seen the problems of going too far.
That's true. That's very true that we've seen, like, what happens when you go off the deep end in
ridiculousness.
Well, we've played some ridiculous games too. I mean,
yes. I mean, there was the one where we all had the one game that was supposed to be ridiculous, and we all had special powers that if we as a person actually did something out of game, it affected what we did in game. Like my one character, if I blinked.
No, it was Mike was blink, you would laugh.
Oh, that's right. If I laughed, I turned into a random creature.
I can't remember what mine was, but it was something like that I was doing a lot of. But I did Rod of Wonder effects, so oh, it was when I spoke! I said to speak if things would happen. But we changed, that one we changed it to my character was doing it in-game rather than me, because it wouldn't really work otherwise. But my character was a bard, of course I was going to speak. A lot.
Well, I was a monk with wooden fists. Masterwork wooden fists.
You did that to yourself before the game started.
I know, but then when I changed to animals, like a bird, I had wooden wings, or an octopus, I was a stiltopus.
James, have you had any ridiculous characters? Or have you always kept it serious?
So, there's been a couple kind of ridiculous characters. They mostly have to do with the naming of people. One game that I was playing with you named the character Sir Lancelot because his weapon of choice was a lance.
I liked Sir Lancelot. I did.
When he died, my fellow character's name is Sir Lancer None. So
I forgot that.
There's been a couple ridiculous ones, but nothing really stands out in my mind as the most ridiculous character ever.
Yeah, I mean, there always seems to be a time and a place for silliness, and it's as a player, it's sometimes hard not to go too far in a game if it's not made to be that way. And I think that's one of those things that sometimes when you get into that level, you struggle with. I think Brom was perfectly on that line, that he didn't go too far.
Yeah, he was a little ridiculous, but you could still take him somewhat seriously.
I mean, he had his quirks, but he at least was a great fighter and helped out in combat, and wasn't, even with challenging things to duels, no one actually accepted him in these duels. And he just, like, challenged people right away, and then they went away, and he's like, oh.
No thank you, goodbye.
So, go ahead.
Sorry. In the game that I was playing, the Sir Lancelot, he got a ring that let him turn into an illusion of a ghost. And so that was kind of my panic button. If anything that was happening, I didn't know what to do. I turned into a ghost and went, ooh.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember the time I tried 5th edition, having for the brief while, the halfling I had, which was a halfling paladin, which I was low enough level that I hadn't taken the oath of my paladin yet. So I basically, like, it was like right before that level which we got the oath for the paladin, which is the paladin oath I was going to take when it let me lie. So basically, I deceive a whole bunch of kobolds into think I'm their new tormentor. It's like this cultists and kobolds. So I become Perrin the Tormentor. And then the next level, I can't lie anymore. So I just basically omit the fact forever, not talking about it. I can talk about the fact that they know me as Perrin the Tormentor, but I never talk about actually tormenting anything. And it's a running gag for the rest of the game that we do there, which unfortunately that, we didn't go anywhere with that one. But that was fun to try that out and have that briefly as Perrin the Tormentor. That was fun. And that was silly though. It was like, and the thing is that after that, whenever I took my oath, I skirted around the fact that I was not lying or deceiving anybody with the words I was saying. But I was always playing it up that I would never deny anything either. That was fun. I think that's a fun way of doing it. Alright, so that was fun talking about some of our characters. Maybe next time we'll talk about some of our games. Because it's always fun to talk about both of these. And they combine, of course, it makes the best. So I do want to move on to some gaming stage advice. I have a couple of questions I've come up with. No one has submitted questions, unfortunately, so far. I'll probably try to ask on Twitter next time before the game starts, see if we get anything. So, all three of us have had some experience with being a GM/DM. The first question I do want to ask is, first off, what have you done to deal with problem characters? And, as a conjunction to that, what do you think you should have done to deal with problem characters?
Well, I think my biggest example would have been when I was running my own game that I designed, Underworld. And we were at a point, just to give a brief bios of it, it's basically set in 1930s, 1940s, Chicago mobs rules kind of game, and there's a race of aliens that crash landed, race of vampires, race of mole people, and humans, of course. And at this point, we had a group. One of the characters wanted to be a half Chinese, half Caucasian FBI agent who was trying to infiltrate the mob. And they're meeting with the mob boss for a mission, and he's giving out gear. And originally he was going to give the one character,
my character.
He's FBI. Well, he was going to give the FBI silencer originally.
Well, there was two silencers.
He had one. Yeah, we realized he already had one of his guns. You didn't have a silencer.
Well, it was that I had only one type of gun and he had two types of gun, and he had a silencer for. No, I think he had three guns. He had a silencer for one of them. And he wanted a silencer for his big gun, which I guess I had two of the big guns. The same stuff, like the heavy pistols. And he had a holdout pistol, or something, the smallest type of gun with a silencer. And then there was also that medium pistol. That he didn't have any silencers for the medium or heavy.
Right. And because when I realized you didn't have anything for a silencer, I said, instead, you're getting that silencer.
But he was going to get the medium one.
Yeah, but he still wanted to have a hissy fit over it.
I know, that was the thing, is he's still getting one. It was just that he wasn't getting it for his best gun.
Right. So, I pretty much was like, okay, he motions, the one of his goons comes up behind you. Are you going to continue fighting him on this issue? And he does. So I'm like, okay. He makes another motion, you're dead, make a new character.
That was the perfect point.
Right. And then, eventually he calmed down a little bit. I'm like, look, this is how it is. Either you are dead and you're making a new character, or you accept his offer. I'll give you one last, back out of it. And finally he did back down. But he, at that point, our friend, could get that way in games a lot, and I kind of got fed up with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about my struggles with this, but I struggled with him in this too a lot. And you had the best result for it, period. But you also had an advantage that we were playing at your place too.
Right, because we used to play a lot at his place, so you couldn't
That's
it was hard to shut him down like that because he could just kick us out then, and there goes the game. But since it was my place, I could actually finally, put the foot down and say, no, you're not acting like this. This is how it is.
How about you, James?
I was a DM for a game. It wasn't my first time DMing, but I really like rolling on tables. So when my when my players got a magic weapon, I rolled on the table, and I rolled really well, and so it was a pretty overpowered weapon. It had some magical enhancement, and I think it was Vorpal, so it was terrifying. And this was at like 6th or 7th level. And so the first thing I tried to do was just have a guy that was, within the story, have a guy that was really tough to beat, that he couldn't just rely on the vorpalness of the sword to get, but it turns out that he could rely on the vorpalness of the sword, and so his head was chopped off. And the next thing I tried to do, it worked, is I had a monster just show up, and he's like, I'm gonna smack him, I'm gonna chop his head off, and because he didn't really know anything about stuff, so I put a rust monster in there.
Oh yeah.
And so I made this. He didn't make the save, and so his weapon just disintegrated, and he got really angry for some reason.
I guess it's because he'd grown attached to the weapon that you had given him.
Yeah, that's probably it. So what they should have done is just once I rolled, I'd be like, okay, that's overpowered. We're just gonna roll again. Because I should have known better than to give him that weapon. And
the words I should have known better have been some of my words for my GMing career that have existed for quite a while. It has taken me quite a long time to learn lessons.
I think we all have done that.
Oh, I should have known better for a lot of times. But I've done things as a GM that aren't even related to this part of it, that are my own mistakes that I brought to a game. But talking about this and dealing with players, I've been bad with dealing with overpowered players. I still am pretty bad with it, because I try to be too nice. I think what it is I know for myself, I really have to I have to say no, or you're not playing it. I tried doing that in a game one time, which was the most interesting results. That it was the Sky game, as it was dubbed. I don't know if you were in that, Joe.
I know I was in at least part of it, I think.
Okay, so our friend and also fellow GM, Chat. He made a few characters for it because he never remembered his character sheet, so he always made a new one. I think the last one, he made it, and the problem with that character, the last one, this is another whole can of worms. We looked it over, and we were playing Gestalt characters, which if no one knows Gestalt, you play two classes at once. And that's hard to run in a Gestalt game. It really is.
With all the benefits.
Yeah, because you either have to make everything more powerful or have everything Gestalt. And I was trying for the everything Gestalt, which is a headache. Terrible idea. Anyway, so you basically, you get the best benefits of both classes. He didn't make an actual character. Well, he made a character, but we looked it over, and the amount of what I would call either cheating, but maybe not necessarily cheating, skipping what really should have been common sense rules things just to build something. He chose a domain, which is was a specialized domain you had to do something to get, as a class that shouldn't have access to that domain. He stacked his levels from his race, because he was playing a monster race, with his levels from a class that they shouldn't have stacked. It was little things like that are common sense things that they don't actually mention per se, or like don't really mention in a way that's really easy to understand, but he did them. And so the character was much more ridiculous. Now, fortunately, I do have to say he played the character playing down what he had built. And that's the only reason I didn't have much of a trouble with his character. But I've had such trouble characters in the past, too, that what the heck do you use to deal with them sometimes? The one he made that I'm thinking about, he made a creature that was a paladin, that was a centaur-like creature called a Baryar, and he's like, I'm my own mount. So I use all the mounted combat feats with myself, and I can make a ride check to avoid things with myself. So I told him, you're not playing it, you're not playing it, you're not playing it, you're not playing it, and he built it and was playing it, and I don't know how I'd lost so much control, so I decided, F it, I'm making a spite monster, which I say, this is a spite monster made to murder that guy. What does one of our other players do but run up and fight the spite monster on his own and get murdered? I think he didn't die, but he got really close to it, because he's like, charge forward, I will fight these, even though I specifically said, spite monster. Oh. And the problem, I think the person that I've had the most problems with, it's two players. Two players I tend to have problems with. It's Mike and Chad.
Yeah.
Mike and Chad. Though I have had problems with other players just in general. Sometimes people stumble upon something which is a problem. You never know. You could be building a character, and this is going to be my extension of my next question. That you build a character and it becomes too powerful and too ridiculous. And that's the main problem I've always faced, you know. Like in my first game that I did in 3rd edition, which was my first, I would call it my first actual GMing session. I GM'd things before, but probably like not well, and probably just, you know, it was a lot more story-driven, less rules-driven, but for the time that I was running them, people didn't know better. My first actual 3rd edition, I had to deal with someone wanting to be a half-dragon at 1st level, and I had no idea how being unusual races worked at that point in time. So I'm like, I have to balance this out now that I've promised this to get enough players and a location to play, because we're using his house at that point in time. Oh. No. I think, personally, I have had a mixed bag results when it comes to dealing with people. I've asked people to change their characters. I've tried spite monsters. Usually the changing the character works decently if you can convince someone, like, it's like people put effort in, so sometimes I feel bad about that, which is something I have to get over. I have to get over that. Don't feel bad. Give them to God to change the crap they're putting together that's screwing you over as a GM. You have to have at least some line of communication there.
Right, and not just screwing you over as a GM, but also hurting the other player's experience.
That's a thing that I think is something that sometimes we, both as game masters or players, don't always think of. Is we're always thinking of our own experience being very selfish, and we have to make sure that we remember everyone's experience. And that's a difficult thing to sometimes remember. It's because it's also a hard thing to do sometimes, because every person looks for a different experience and has more enjoyable for certain types of experience. And I think that's where either you as a DM or GM, that's where your main job comes in, is you have to know what everybody's experience, what they want is, and then balance out between them so that it's managing them.
Right. That's definitely true. I mean, it's easy as a GM also to get caught up in your own kind of, this is your own vision, and not always think about how are the characters, you know, how are my players' experience with this? Are they enjoying what I'm doing, or should I step back from what I'm envisioning and modify things so it is more fun for them?
Yeah. But I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Now, I did have an extension of this since we were discussing it, and my extension of this is another question. As a player, so now as a player, how do we think we should mitigate ourselves, especially when we can finally recognize we have built a character that is too powerful? that we shouldn't play because of the way we put it together? How do we mitigate ourselves? Because I think that's been a problem that I think I had a lot of years of building very powerful characters and not caring what it meant. Nowadays, I try to avoid that a lot, and I don't know how other people view that at this point.
Well, me personally, I think I'm not the type of person who tries to go overpower. I try to actually have more of a story that I want to tell with my character. But sometimes you do run into things that, you know, you're not purposely trying to be overpower, but situations end up allowing that to be.
I mean, sometimes you purposely just build something you think would be really cool, and you're like, oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the character last week, Fedor.
Yeah, Fedor, the Artificer. Artificer is a slightly broken class. That's the thing is, you look at it, and the way the rules are stated, you could abuse the heck out of it. And
well, especially in the type of game we were in, too, because Artificers are really awesome, but they also need time to be able to work on their inventions. Well, we were in a pirate game.
Or magic items, because you could make all our magic items.
Right. And the fact that we were in a game that we had so much travel, that we were on a ship, my character had the time to do those things.
Yeah.
So I tried to find a balance of, okay, I don't want to get rid of the character, so I'll try to keep it reined in. I'll try not to go overboard. And I think overall I was successful with that. But I know there were times where I did get a bit, overpowered and ridiculous.
True. James.
So, overpowered characters. Well, I think Magus is kind of overpowered class to begin with, especially if you can mold it right. And so when I played the Magus, I don't know.
Hey, is the stream still going for you two guys?
Yeah, I still see it going.
Okay, my preview's just messed up. So, okay, keep going, James. Sorry, I just want to make sure things are still on track.
So I was playing in Magus, and at one point I could do like 90 damage with just the spell, and in addition to all my weapon damage. And so I tried to mitigate that by trying to be more well-rounded as a caster rather than just focusing on the one spell that could decimate people. I tried to be more of a battlefield controller, a buffer of other people, rather than just, hey look, it's a big boss, I'm gonna go kill it.
Yeah, I mean, Magus, I kind of feel like it's very easy to build something very powerful with it. Just the nature of the fact you could, hit something with your weapon and cast a spell, and your weapon's critical is going to be its critical. I mean, that can be ridiculous quickly. So, keeping it in check, I think that's a challenge.
So what about you, Matt?
I've had a few that I think went too far in the past more. Like, well, the thing is, the levels of ridiculousness. I don't think I've ever really made a character. The closest I think would be my Valinor from first one, because I was trying to make a character that was like 3 classes and did a lot of ridiculous things. And he was the closest to trying to break the game, but unfortunately for him, we had another character that was more ridiculous because he was taking the levels and Gale from Savage Species. So you could take levels of an outsider. And he only took part of them, and then apparently had amnesia and was starting to take a class for a while, until he regained his memory. So that ended up trouncing anything I did in that game. And that was my most ridiculous build of a character, I think, that I can remember in recent memory. I've built some characters that have done some ridiculous things, and I've built some characters which I can recognize are pretty powerful and skating that edge. Like my character from Rise of the Rune Lords that I'm currently playing. He's an archer. Archers are a little ridiculous like the Magus. I'm skating that fine edge. You know, I do a lot of damage. I don't hit everything all the time, and I think that's what mitigates my character a little bit. So I'm only mostly murdering stuff. But, like, I can name a few characters that were very powerful, but I don't think they... I think they were always skating that line. My Bard, and when we were doing that evil game, for example, my Bard was sort of ridiculous in the amount of things, the amount of buffs he could give people, the amount of like little things that he could keep casting all these spells, and he could have 3 performances going at once, and then he could just ooze out all this enhancements to the team that just made things like when I finished putting them out, we were ridiculous once I did that.
Well. And I was thinking along the same lines of the evil game. That was probably my most overpowered character was the monk.
Oh yeah, you were broken.
A vampire.
They gave the option in the game, and Chad let you take it very too quickly.
Yeah, without really experiencing the negative effects from it. And I was already, like, superly overpowered with the build that I did.
You were a glass cannon.
Yeah.
And I think what Vampire did for you is it made it that you were no longer glass.
Yeah, exactly. It took all the weaknesses of that character completely out and even buffed him beyond what he was, which I will admit by the end he was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done by far.
Yeah, he was ridiculous. I don't think he's the most ridiculous character I've ever heard of. That would be Magnus, which is everybody in our group harkens back to this character called Magnus, who one of our friends made. He was a half ogre from 3rd edition, so that already makes him pretty ridiculous. He was a warblade from the Book of Nine Swords, which was one of the last things Wizards put out, which was kind of a ridiculous book in and of itself. Because you had, like, fighter techniques where you could just do, like, 100 damage at the highest level. So, and then he took, like, all these abilities to take oversized weapons. So then he was large, had, like, a gargantuan chain, spike chain. And I think he was doing, like, 5d6 on a hit when we were 5th level. And he had a horrible radius of destruction of attacks of opportunity with combat reflexes. And he was in plate mail. So he had a huge amount of hit points, in plate mail, he didn't move very fast, and just whipped this spike chain around murdering everything. It was the most ridiculous build ever. Just you know, and I've had ridiculous builds for things too. Like my captain of Kill that had the most ridiculous diplomacy that I could get like plus, I think at the end of the game, I could get plus 60 to diplomacy. So if I had time, I could convince anybody of anything. I think I convinced like one of the demon princes to be good.
Yes, you did.
That's how ridiculous my character was. Granted, we had managed to, like, somehow, I think we had hold-personed him, so it was enough time that I could make a diplomacy check, that he somehow, like, failed his check and was not immune to paralysis, which was some kind of stupid oversight. So it was like, yep. So, did I tell you about good? That was ridiculous, but it was hard to use. Because I needed, like, at least a minute in order to, like, talk to someone and convince them of this. But yeah, so I mean, I've had some pretty ridiculous characters too, and I think it's just you have to recognize when you're going too far and recognizing when it's hurting the game. You can be ridiculous, but I feel that that's getting back to the GM's job to point out, like, watch yourself. You're skating that line, and you might step over it. I do have to say, I had my own Magnus moment with a character called Katsuro from that Gestalt game. Katsuro was referred to as a spite character against me when I don't know what spite I earned to earn a spite character. He murdered everything and was kind of an idiot. The murdering everything was not necessarily the worst part. It was the fact that he was like a murderous, like psychopath. That was the problem. It was the way he was played.
Right.
Because when the player wasn't around and we had him as an NPC, he was fine. The build he had was never a problem. It was always the way that the person who played him played him. Yeah, so I mean, this has been an interesting discussion, I think, and it's a problem that I think we all faces both people that are running games and people that are playing in them, is managing our characters that we keep the story going, and we can have the characters we want in the story, but we don't hurt the story from anybody else. And I think that's something that is definitely difficult to do sometimes. I do think. So that's been a good discussion. So I think we should wrap it up. I thank again for James and Joe for joining me. Hopefully you guys can join me next time. I know, Joe, you're trying to be regular, and James, you'll try to be regular as much as you can.
Yeah, I'll definitely be here again next week, unless something comes up.
Yep. James, hopefully see you.
Yeah.
If you guys ever get any Twitter, I will put the links in there, or any kind of other social media that they can find you at, or something like that. But I know you guys are sort of offline right now and just helping me out on this. Maybe we'll get another guest or something. I can find out if there's someone that wants to guest star on our show. Again, I will put the VOD up. I'm going to try to get VODs up of the show on Mondays now. That's going to be my goal, is to put them out on every Monday. If not, I will let people know on Twitter if there's a delay on that. You can find it on my YouTube channel, which is linked down below. You can see it down there. I eventually hope to change that from that abomination of writing to like the Dracovin Empire, but I can't do that until I get enough subscribers. Working towards it, slowly but surely. So it'll be easier than just copying it down there. The link is, I believe, on my Twitch page here, or if you're following me on Twitter, it is linked in my description on my Twitter. So that's enjoyable for this week. VOD will be up, as I said. If you have any questions that you want to post us, or any kind of discussion topics, just leave it at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. That's the email I set up for this. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Until the next time, I bid you farewell.